Potassium. It may be one reason your leg cramps keep waking you up after 60. And if your dinner plate tonight looks healthy, grilled chicken, white rice, a small scoop of green vegetables, that plate could be the exact place where the problem starts. Because what most seniors never hear is this. It's not that potassium doesn't matter. It's that the meal you trust the most, the one that looks responsible, looks clean, looks like you're doing the right thing, can still come up short on the one mineral your muscles need to stay quiet through the night. You've probably had this happen. 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Your calf locks up so hard you can't move your foot. You grab the leg. You try to stretch. You wait. And when it finally lets go, you lie there wondering why this keeps happening when you're eating well, drinking water, doing everything you were told. And here's what most seniors have been told. If potassium were really part of the problem, your blood test would catch it. And any reasonable dinner should cover it. That's the standard line. However, and this is backed directly by data from the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements and the 2019 report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, most American adults don't reach the adequate intake for potassium. The AI is 3,400 milligrams a day for men over 51 and 2,600 milligrams for women. And according to NAN's survey data analyzed by the NIH, the average daily intake from food for American men is only about 3,016 milligrams. For women, it's just 2,320. That means a large portion of American adults, including many seniors who believe their diet is fine, are consistently falling below the recommended intake. And the part that makes this worse? A routine blood test for potassium measures what's floating in your bloodstream. But the NIH's own fact sheet states clearly that blood potassium levels often correlate poorly with tissue potassium stores. Your blood can read normal, and your muscles can still be running on less than they need. My name is Dr. David Collin, and before I go any further, I want to be clear with you. Everything I share here is for educational purposes only. Always discuss changes with your own doctor. That's not a formality. I say it because what we're about to talk about involves potassium, and potassium touches medications, kidney function, and supplement safety in ways that are different for every person. So please, stay with me, learn the pattern, and then bring it to your doctor. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because there is a gap in how seniors are told to think about night leg cramps. The enemy isn't ignorance. It's incomplete information. The dietary guidelines haven't kept pace with what we now understand about mineral intake after 60. Your doctor isn't hiding anything. But the model most doctors use, check the blood work, recommend a balanced diet, suggest hydration, misses something specific. It misses what happens when your dinner is structured the wrong way for potassium. And it misses what happens overnight. After 60, everything changes, and most people aren't told why. By the time I'm done today, you'll understand exactly why one of the most common healthy dinner plates in America may be quietly setting your legs up for a difficult night, and what you can do about it, safely, starting today. So let's start where the problem actually lives. Inside your muscles. Every time a muscle contracts, your calf, the arch of your foot, the back of your leg, that contraction depends on a flow of minerals moving in and out of the muscle cells. Potassium is one of the key players in this process. Think of it like a reset switch. When your muscle fires, calcium and sodium help it contract. Potassium helps it release. Let go. Relax. When there's enough potassium available, the cycle runs smoothly. Fire. Release. Fire. Release. But when potassium is running low, even just a little low, the release part of that cycle gets sluggish. The muscle fires, and instead of letting go, it holds. That's a cramp. That's what's happening to your calf at 3 in the morning. Now here's where the dinner plate enters the story. Your body doesn't store potassium the way it stores some other minerals. You use what you take in that day, and your kidneys are constantly adjusting, flushing out what they think is extra. So when your last real meal of the day, dinner, is low in potassium, you're entering the longest fasting window of your entire 24 hours with less of the mineral your muscles depend on to stay calm. And that fasting window? After 60, it can stretch 7, 8, 9 hours or more. No food coming in. Kidneys still working. Potassium slowly dropping. Muscles slowly losing their ability to release properly. And somewhere in the middle of the night, they lock. Small dinner. Long night. Tight calves. That's the pattern. And most seniors have never had anyone lay it out that simply. Let me show you why the plate itself matters. According to the USDA's Food Data Central database, one medium baked potato, just the flesh, gives you about 610 milligrams of potassium. 1 cup of cooked lentils gives you over 730. A cup of acorn squash, mashed, gives you roughly 644. Even a medium banana gives you about 422. Now compare that to what many seniors actually eat for dinner. A 3-ounce grilled chicken breast, about 332 milligrams. A cup of cooked white rice, only 54 milligrams. A small serving of iceberg lettuce, maybe 102. Add those up. You're looking at a dinner that delivers under 500 milligrams of potassium for the whole meal. That plate looks clean. It looks healthy. It looks responsible. But from a potassium standpoint, it's underpowered. And the gap between what that plate delivers and what your muscles need for the overnight window is exactly where night cramps find their opening. Normal is not optimal. That's a phrase I want you to hold on to. There's a review published in the journal Age and Aging in 2016 that looked specifically at nocturnal leg cramps in older people. The data from that review, along with findings from a NANS-based study published in BMC Musculoskeletal Disorders in 2017, suggest that somewhere between 33 and 50% of adults over 50 report experiencing nocturnal leg cramps. That's a staggering number. And yet, most of these adults have never been asked a single question about what they eat for dinner. The NANS study found that about 24% of the population reported mild nocturnal leg cramps, and about 6% reported moderate to severe episodes. Cramp frequency went up with age. It went up with use of diuretics. It went up with shorter sleep duration. And here's what stands out. It went up alongside markers of poorer overall health. Most seniors never connect this to that. Today you will. So the mechanism is clear. A dinner that looks fine can be structurally weak in potassium. That weakness flows into the overnight window, the longest stretch of the day without food. And the muscles, running lower on the mineral they need to relax, begin to misfire. That's how the cramp starts. That's the first layer. But there's a second layer. And this one is the part that frustrates me the most, because it's the part that gives seniors false confidence. Your blood test. The standard metabolic panel that your doctor orders. It includes a serum potassium level. And when it comes back in the normal range, 3.5 to 5.0 millimoles per liter, most seniors assume they're in the clear. Their doctor sees it, checks the box, moves on. But here is what that number doesn't tell you. The NIH's own fact sheet on potassium, updated and maintained by the Office of Dietary Supplements, states directly that blood potassium levels often correlate poorly with tissue potassium stores. Your body works extremely hard to keep blood potassium within a tight range. It will pull potassium from other places, from inside your cells, from your tissues, just to keep that blood number looking acceptable. A 2023 study published in BMJ Open looked at the relationship between dietary potassium intake and serum potassium levels in older adults. The conclusion? The association was weak, and it only showed up meaningfully in people who already had impaired kidney function. In apparently healthy individuals, the connection between what they ate and what their blood showed was not strong. What that means, in plain English, is this. You can eat a low-potassium dinner every night for months. Your blood test can come back normal, and your muscles can still be the ones paying the price. The lab doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell the whole truth either. If this is you at 2 in the morning, keep listening. Now let's talk about the thing that changes the potassium conversation entirely for some seniors. Medications. And this is where I need to slow down, because this section carries real weight. If you take any blood pressure medication, any water pill, any medication for heart failure, or if you have kidney disease, what I'm about to say applies directly to you. And it means you should not change your potassium intake through food or supplements without talking to your doctor or pharmacist first. This is not optional guidance. This is a safety boundary. Here's why. Loop diuretics, medications like furosemide, sometimes called Lasix, and thiazide diuretics, like hydrochlorothiazide, are among the most commonly prescribed medications in older adults. According to the Mayo Clinic and the NIH Health Professional Resources, these medications increase the amount of potassium your kidneys flush out. They can actively drain potassium from your body while you sleep. So a dinner that's already weak in potassium, combined with a diuretic that's pulling even more out, that's two forces working against your muscles at the same time. And this changes everything. But here's the opposite side. ACE inhibitors, medications like lisinopril, benazepril, and ARBs, like losartan, and potassium-sparing diuretics, like spironolactone. These medications do the reverse. They reduce how much potassium your kidneys excrete. That means potassium can build up. And if you're also increasing potassium through food, or worse, taking a potassium supplement or using a salt substitute that contains potassium chloride, levels can rise to a point where it becomes dangerous. That's called hyperkalemia, and it can affect your heart rhythm. Your doctor never told you this, but I will. So here's where we are in this story. The dinner plate can be quietly low. The blood test can look fine while the diet falls short. And the medication you take, depending on which one, can either drain potassium faster or cause it to build up in ways that make adding more potentially risky. That's 3 layers. And most seniors have never heard all 3 in the same conversation. Which brings me to this. I want you to drop a letter in the comments right now. If you still believe a normal-looking dinner and a normal lab result usually mean potassium isn't your issue, drop the letter A. If you now believe your evening meal may be the missing piece behind those night cramps, drop the letter B. I read every single comment personally. Now let me tell you the part I've been building toward. Because everything I've said so far matters. It's real. But there's something underneath all of it that changes the entire picture, and almost no one talks about it. The issue for most seniors isn't a dramatic potassium deficiency. It's not something that shows up screaming on a lab result or sends you to the emergency room. It's quieter than that. And because it's quiet, it gets ignored. The real pattern, the one I see driving night cramps in seniors over and over, is a chronic dinner-level intake mismatch paired with the overnight fasting window. It's not one bad meal. It's the same underpowered plate, repeated most nights, flowing into the same 8-hour stretch without food, month after month after month. And here's the part that reframes everything. After 60, 3 things tend to shift at the same time. First, appetite drops. Seniors eat smaller portions. Less food means less potassium per meal, even if the food choices look reasonable. Second, taste changes. Many seniors drift toward plainer, starchier, simpler meals. Chicken and rice, soup and toast, pasta with a little sauce. These meals feel safe. They feel sensible, but they are structurally low in potassium compared to meals built around beans, potatoes, leafy greens, yogurt, or fish. And third, the overnight window gets longer. Seniors often eat dinner earlier, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then nothing until morning. That's 12 hours or more. 12 hours where your body is drawing on whatever potassium you took in at that last meal. And if that meal gave you 400 milligrams instead of 800, your muscles feel the difference before the sun comes up. Not random, not harmless, not just age. This is not age. This is something your body is doing, and we can fix it. Most seniors never get this far. They manage one piece of the puzzle. They eat a banana. They drink more water. They try a magnesium supplement. But they miss the dinner timing mismatch, and that gap is exactly what keeps the problem returning night after night. I'm telling you this because nobody else in this space will. Now, there's one more complication I have to name before we move to what you can actually do about this. Salt substitutes. Products like New Salt, No Salt, Morton's Light Salt. These are marketed as healthier alternatives to regular table salt, and they contain potassium chloride, sometimes a lot of it. Per the NIH, some of these products can contain up to 2,800 milligrams of potassium in a single teaspoon. For a healthy person with normal kidneys, that might be fine. But for a senior who's taking an ACE inhibitor, an ARB, or a potassium-sparing diuretic, or for anyone with reduced kidney function, that teaspoon of salt substitute can push potassium levels into a dangerous range. The American Association of Kidney Patients issued a national alert about this in 2024, specifically warning about the risks of hidden potassium in salt substitutes for people with compromised kidney function. This is why I will never tell you to just eat more potassium and leave it there. Because for some of you, that advice without context could cause harm. And that's the difference between someone who wants clicks and someone who wants you to be safe. This is the part most seniors were never told. So here's what I want you to do. Not a prescription, not a supplement recommendation, a framework, 3 steps. And every one of them ends with the same instruction: bring it to your doctor. The first step: audit your dinner for 3 nights in a row. Write down what's on the plate. Look at the structure. Is it lean protein plus a refined starch plus a tiny portion of vegetables? If that's the pattern most nights, chicken and rice, meat and bread, soup and crackers, you've found the gap. Because according to USDA Food Data Central, that combination typically delivers well under 500 milligrams of potassium for the entire meal. Your muscles need more than that to carry you through a 12-hour overnight window. The second step, build one potassium-rich anchor into dinner on most nights. Not every night, not perfectly, just more often than you're doing it now. And here's what that looks like in real food. Not pills, not powders, not supplements. One medium baked potato with the skin, roughly 926 milligrams of potassium, according to the USDA. A cup of cooked white beans, over 1,000 milligrams. A cup of cooked spinach, about 839 milligrams. A 6-ounce container of low-fat yogurt, around 330 milligrams. 3 ounces of cooked salmon, about 326 milligrams. Even a half cup of acorn squash gives you over 300. These aren't exotic foods. They're available in every grocery store in America. But most seniors aren't pairing them into dinner intentionally. They're eating what's easy, what's familiar, what's fast. And that habit, not the food itself, but the habit, is what leaves the plate underpowered. So to be clear, build one high-potassium food into dinner most nights. That's it. A baked potato, a side of beans, yogurt for dessert, cooked greens instead of iceberg lettuce. One swap changes the entire mineral structure of the meal. The third step, and this one is non-negotiable. Before you change anything about your potassium intake, through food or through supplements, review your medications, your kidney status, and your use of salt substitutes with your doctor or pharmacist. If you take a loop diuretic, you may actually need more potassium, but your doctor should confirm that. If you take an ACE inhibitor, an ARB, or spironolactone, you may already be retaining potassium, and adding more through food could be a problem. If your kidneys aren't working at full capacity, and many seniors don't know their kidney function has changed, potassium decisions become even more sensitive. Most seniors never connect this to that, but now you do. Let me pull this together for you. Night leg cramps after 60 are not random. They are not something you just accept. In many cases, they're connected to a pattern you can actually see once someone shows it to you. A dinner that looks healthy but delivers too little potassium, a fasting window that stretches overnight without replenishment, and a blood test that checks the bloodstream but doesn't reflect what's happening in the tissues. Research from the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements confirms that most Americans fall short of the adequate intake for potassium. Data from NANS, published through NIH-supported analysis, shows that average intake among women is barely 2,300 milligrams. The 2016 review in Age and Aging documents that nocturnal cramps affect up to half of older adults. And the Mayo Clinic's own resources confirm that common medications prescribed to seniors, diuretics, ACE inhibitors, ARBs, directly alter potassium balance in opposite directions. You now know more about this than most people will ever be told. And what you do with it, starting tonight, is the only thing that matters. A dinner can look healthy and still be the exact reason your legs feel the night harder than they should. Before I let you go, there's one more thing, and this might be the most important part of everything I've said today. If your cramps started after your appetite dropped, after a medication change, or after you began eating lighter dinners to be healthy, do not brush that off. Sometimes the problem isn't what you stopped eating all day. It's what stopped showing up on your plate at night. Now, you know a low potassium dinner can set the stage for night cramps. But here's what I haven't told you yet. There is one food that seniors reach for more than almost any other when they hear the word potassium: the potato. And most of them are preparing it in ways that destroy the very benefit thereafter. There are 6 common mistakes, and every one of them silently strips the potassium out before the potato ever reaches your plate. I cover exactly that in the next video. Watch it now.